guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm doing a really fun video, a really special one to me. I'm talking about some of the books that I read this summer and some book recommendations I have. I absolutely love reading, and it's something that I really try and do every night right before bed. I just try and take a book out and at least read a couple pages, but most of the time I get really into these books and I read them like in 3 or 4 days. So these are all the books, like I said, that I read this summer, but they're actually books that I think are perfect for all year round. If you have any book recommendations, please let me know in the comments below. But let's get into all the books that I'm interested in letting you guys know about. So for my first book, I am talking about Where the Crawdads Sing. So this book was really interesting. I actually had a YouTuber recommended to me just on one of the videos she was making. She said that it was really good. It was really, it was heartfelt, and I definitely felt that reading. It's basically a coming of age story for a young girl. I'll give you a little synopsis. I don't want to tell you it all, but basically she's in a very difficult home and she's living alone in a marshland, and she basically just takes you through all of the things that she went through in her childhood, and then as she grows older, it starts to talk about like the boys and the love interest she has, and of course one of those boys that she dated actually ends up dead, and that's kind of the main focal point of the end of the story, is that she's actually accused of murder, but they don't know if she actually did it or not because there was not a lot of proof. So I definitely love this book. I think this was one of the best books that I've read, in the sense that the trial portion at the end of the book was just so believable and so raw and so real. I actually cried at the end of this book. Definitely recommend. Like I said, I cried, so maybe if you're not into books like this, then it wasn't like a sad cry. It was like a, oh my gosh, this book was so great and now it's over type of cry. But highly recommend reading this and putting this on your must-read book. So yes, I love it. This next book, I actually love this author, Lauren Weisberger. Last summer I read her book, something about Lululemons. But she wrote the Devil Wears Prada series, so these are all kind of books in that similar style, which are definitely books I really like. So this one's called Chasing Harry Winston. Basically just about 3 girls and their escapade. It reminded me a lot of Sex and the City, in the sense that it was talking about 3 girls and their engagements and their dating lives and their breakups and stuff like that. I definitely really like this. Like I said, it was like a Devil Wears Prada, because that's the author, and a Sex and the City, and that's something I really like. So this was such a good book. It was a really quick read. It was only a couple hundred pages, and it was quick and easy. So I definitely recommend this book as well. Definitely something good to just pick up if you are just needing something quick and easy to read, just to get your mind off things. It's definitely a good one. So the next book I am talking about is One of Us is Lying. This book was so interesting. It kind of follows the perspectives of a couple of kids in in high school, and one of the kids in the circle ends up passing away, and they kind of are figuring out who killed him and stuff like that. It's really interesting. It has almost like a Breakfast Club feel, because the kids start out in detention all together, and then in that detention one of them ends up passing away. So it's definitely really interesting. Like I said, it follows the perspective of each kid. It kind of dives deeper into the high school feel of things. So this is, I think, more of a young adult book, but it was still really good. And there's actually a sequel that I'm going to try and read. It's called One of Us is Next. So the same school has a similar situation happen again. I like books like this. I like murder mysteries, as you can tell from the Crawdads Sing and a couple of the other ones I'm going to talk about. But yeah, this was a really great book. It was, again, a really quick read. I can show you. It kind of, like, it talks about, it like changes from kid to kid, so you're never really bored. Like, it started with one kid in the chapter, and then it flipped around to like the next kid in that group. So it was really good and really interesting to read. definitely recommend it. And finally, we were talking about my newest favorite author. I had never heard of her before, but again, a YouTuber had recommended The Last Mrs. Parrish by Liv Constantine. And this book was so good. It was insanely good. Again, it was like a murder mystery, but it had some like marriage and love and all that stuff. So I really love this. Liv Constantine is actually two sisters that write under this theme. So they have a whole series of books that are really similar. I have two others I'm going to talk about by her, but The Last Mrs. Parrish was so good. I cannot tell you the last time that I was so interested. I got through this book in like maybe a day and a half, 2 days tops, just because the story was so good. What I really liked about it was the chapters were really tiny, so like you could get through so many chapters in a day because they were so like short and concise, and they had so much in it. So you could just keep going. It was so good, and I really loved this book. Again, this one was about a husband and a wife, and then some stuff happens. This other woman comes into the picture, if you can get my drift, and then all that stuff. So this was so good, like such a good book. I can't like recommend it enough. So this, I definitely recommend The Last Mrs. Parrish, Liv Constantine. And then also I pretty much recommend any book by her by them because they are so good. I also read The Last Time I Saw You, and this is their newest book. They came out in May, and I had pre-ordered it, and it came right in. The Wife Stalker. These books are so good. I wish they had more books. I had looked around at some of the other things that they had written, and I just wasn't that interested in them, but these three, I wish they had more like them. The Last Time I Saw You was so good. It was about two best friends, and then one of the mothers ends up dying, and then a whole bunch of stuff happens, and it is like mind-blowing. It is so good. And then The Wife Stalker, in a similar sense, is like a husband and wife, and then this other lady comes into the picture. You can tell there's a theme, but these books are so good. If you're interested in, I almost want to say it's kind of like a murder mystery, and then like that vibe of like Sex and the City, Gossip Girl, where it's like rich, upper class, like really successful people, and that's kind of where it's around. So it is so good. I loved this. I loved all three of the books. The Last Mrs. Parrish was definitely my favorite, and that was the first one I read. But then The Wife Stalker, when it came out, this one was so good as well. Basically, husband and wife, and then there's a babysitter or a nanny, and she kind of gets herself entangled in things. So it is so good, and I highly recommend it. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about, I'm actually going to put on the screen while I'm talking, but it's actually this app called GoodReads. I think it's powered by Amazon and the Amazon Kindle, because you can buy right from there the Amazon Kindle stuff, but I like to use it to track my books that I've read and books that I want to read. So as you can see, as you're scrolling, you can see all the books that I've already read before, and these are all the books I've read during quarantine. And then I have a list of books that I want to read, and those are the books that either I have or that I want to buy. And I really like the app because it helps to keep everything all together, and you don't have to leave like giant lists of stuff. You can just look and be like, oh, this book looks good. You can read reviews for it, you can read the synopsis, you can see where to buy it, you can rate it yourself. And another really cool feature is that you can actually track your progress. So if you read from like 1 to 50 on one day, it'll say like, oh, you read a quarter of the book, or whatever the numbers are. So it is definitely a really great app, and I highly recommend it. So that is going to be it for my books that I recommend. I hope you guys enjoyed listening, and I hope you will let me know if you try any of these books out. Let me know in the comments below if you have any book recommendations for me. I absolutely love reading, so I will most likely be reading whatever you recommend. And also try out the GoodReads app. I highly recommend it if you're someone like me that reads a lot. It's really helpful to just keep everything in one place. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all soon. Be sure to subscribe and check out my blog. I have a lot of I can link down below some posts that I've done on books that I've read before as well. So have a great day, friends, and I will see you soon.